Alright, so we're going to do a little stroll through the garden and show you what's going on late spring as we head into summer. So down here we've got these are pinto beans, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, pinto beans in this bed and the one behind you, Pierce. So then these here are black beans in the next 3 beds. These are the beds that we cleaned out that had potatoes and onions for the spring. So now we've got our beans planted in here. These are bush beans. And this next one is black beans as well, except for right here on the end, these are some red silk beans and they will run. So we have this trellis here next to it that they can run up. We also have some boxes here of the silk beans. I think I may have overdone the lime in those, so they're looking a little rough. We're going to add a little bit of soil acidifier today and see if that helps them out. Come on down. This bed also had potatoes in it. We've got a few mounds of peanuts planted in this, so we'll see how they do. And then these 2 beds, which both were, well, this one was potatoes, and I didn't have anything in that earlier, but these are both sweet potatoes now. And you can plant sweet potatoes behind potatoes because they're not in the same family. They're not nightshade. Sweet potatoes are actually in the morning glory family. And then coming around here, I just have a little red cabbage that is about ready to come up. Cabbages don't really do that well in the spring. Here in Alabama it gets too hot too fast, so I'll probably not do them again in the spring. I'll just do cabbages in the fall. They do really well then. These are some ginger plants, and looks like they're getting a little sunburn out here, so I may have to reconsider where they're planted in the future. I put a few little eggplants in this bed. I've got a few coming up right here, but the dogs had dug in the other spots that I put them in, so I've replanted those. But this was the bed that I had full of carrots that have been harvested after the spring.
They're good.
We got strawberries here. These are ever-bearing strawberries, so they will continue to produce for us throughout the summer. They're trying to send off a few runners, so I've been pinching those off to help with their production. But they've done good. We've gotten probably several gallons of strawberries off of these 2 beds just in the last, really the last month since they've been producing. So in our pots in the middle, let's go down this row, start down here first. This first blue pot, I've got a few shallots in there.
And we just planted an olive.
Yeah, that's a little olive tree. We'll have to bring those in over the winter. That's why it's in one of my blue pots. This is a avocado tree. It's a cold hardy avocado tree. Cold hardy once it gets woody, so the green would not stand up to a frost.
This
but once
onion?
it gets woody, this is an Egyptian walking onion, and I've got some better examples of these here, where they're sending off their little shoots that they're trying to reseed themselves. And here are some as well. This is another avocado tree. This one's actually looking a lot better than the other one. Also a cold hardy avocado tree once it gets woody. So these will probably have to come in this winter. Another little olive tree and a few shallots right in here.
Like an onion?
Kind of like an onion. These are potato onions. So you can eat the tops as green onions, and then they kind of form a cluster of onions at the bottom that look kind of like a garlic bulb when they're ready. We've got sweet potatoes in the next 3 pots. And coming around here, I had carrots in this bed during the early spring. So I've got cucumbers coming up now.
And squash.
This is zucchini.
Or,
Yeah.
zucchini.
It's really, so these are 4 little mounds of zucchini, as you can see back up. It's really taken over and spilled out and overflowed the little bed that it's in. Some more cucumbers here. This bed had onions and carrots as well. This was where our garlic was over here. So there's a lot of little bulbs in there that will reseed the garlic.
What's this over there?
That is a kale that is, I'm just letting go to seed so I can collect seeds off of it for the fall. These are green onions that went to seed, so I'm just letting them go to seed, and I'll collect the seeds off of those. It's just a weed in there. We'll walk around and go into the bigger garden.
Bees around that.
So right in this area, I've got some tomatoes that are staked to the fence.
But Allie keeps getting in there. Yeah.
Well, she tore down some tomatoes in the back garden where she had gotten in there and was running back and forth with Negan. This is a little bed with some peppers, a few tomatoes, and then we have a few little strawberries that were just planted in the ground over here. I've found that the strawberries do better in a raised bed just because on the ground you can get some slugs in them. But
Yeah.
these will probably be moved in the fall to a raised bed. Over here we have some more strawberries, and like I said, that's our, it's 3 tomato plants. Those are gold medal tomatoes, so they'll be a yellow tomato. All right, and we'll walk down to the garden.
Oh, it's rocky. I don't got no shoots. Ow, 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 ow. Ow. Ow.
You don't have tough feet like Elizabeth? All right. So this is the garden where the pigs were in the fall. So the pigs cleared this all out. We tilled it up and planted it. So we're gonna really fight with the crabgrass this summer, I can tell. So these tomatoes right down through here are Romas. Those are going to be our paste tomatoes. And I think that may be a Cherokee purple there. Most of these along the edge are golden tomatoes. I've got a row of melons here. So there's a couple of mounds of cantaloupe, and then the others are like a little miniature green kind of honeydew melon. These right here are tomatillos, and I have them all. These are the green ones. The yellow ones that I had got in Allie's way, and she tore them down overnight when she came back here in the garden. So these are blooming, so we'll get some tomatillos soon. Got lots of blooms on our tomato plants. We've got a row of lima beans, golden wax beans, and then 2 rows of just bush green beans. And we've got red okra here in the middle, and I've really got to get in here with my little wheel hoe and weed out these rows, but we've had a lot of rain in the last few days, so it's a little wet in here right now. The bush beans, green beans, I think these are contender beans. They're blooming now, so we'll have some beans pretty soon. A few of the tomato plants look like they might have gotten diseased, so we'll just keep an eye on those. We can always just pull them out. I have lots of tomatoes.
And over here we have some sweet corn that we planted.
And it's almost ready to put some nitrogen on. Corn, if it does not have a good nitrogen source, will not make corn. So that's kind of imperative that you get some nitrogen on your corn. And it's right about the stage where I will probably put nitrogen on it in the next next couple of days. We've got tomatoes all along the back of here. These are tomatillos. We're going to walk down through here to the end, and I'll show you the damage that Allie did overnight when she got back here in the garden and ran back and forth with her playmates. So I had some beautiful tomato plants here that she just trampled down.
Looks like a stampede of horses came through.
That's Allie. And she even took some of my stalks of corn down, some tomatoes. So all of my little tomatillos, these were the yellow tomatillos that were over here. This tomato will probably make it. Probably, maybe. We'll see. I'm just going to prop it up a little bit. But I think she got all of my yellow tomatillos that were back here, looks like.
Yeah.
So I'm going to come back here and replant some of those.
How'd she get in?
The gate was left open. She just tore down my corn, and
Where's she in here?
I guess she was running back and forth with Negan. But these are all torn down and broken. Not much that can be salvaged out of that.
Yeah, you just gotta replant that. Some of the corn that Papa's planted is already starting to get some self.
Alright, now we're up at the house looking at some of our garden up here. Mainly in this garden, I have not tomatoes, peppers.
Allie, what are you doing?
Get out of there, Allie. Come on,
Allie,
get out. Dogs and gardens don't mix well.
Yeah.
So I had some spinach in here, I had some peas. Those have all been pulled out now, and there's a lot of weeds
These
in
carrots?
here. That's a carrot I'm trying to let go to seed so I can collect some carrot seeds. This is a broccoli plant that I let go to seed, and I'm going to collect some of those.
Why is this thing of corn straw
I
here?
was just trying to shade out some of the weeds that were coming up through there. That was where the spinach was, and I've pulled it out now. So I'm going to go in here and mulch real good, and I'll probably put a few more peppers in here. This is a good spot for peppers because it gets evening shade. And over here in our raised bed, our little box planter, I've got a bunch of the peas that I'm just letting go to seed, and I'm going to collect those for the spring or the fall to replant some of those. I've got some onions, green onions, salad onions growing up in here. This is a cilantro plant that I've let go to seed so that I can collect some cilantro seeds. Cilantro does not do well in the heat. It will bolt like this, but it's a good time to collect your seeds, so don't pull those off. We want them. They'll form little balls, and we'll collect those and we'll plant them in the fall, and that's when your cilantro is the best. I'm actually going to fill this box up with the runners that my strawberries are putting out. There's a bunch of weeds in here right now.
Is this cow?
This is a little strawberry runner that I've put up in here so far. That
Is this cow right there?
Yeah, it's a little kale plant that's seen better days. More onions. And again, these peas that I'm just letting go to seed, and I'll collect those. So this box needs to be cleaned out. I'm going to fill it up with strawberries as I get runners off of my strawberries down in the other beds. We'll go around to the front.
We got a lot of gardens.
We actually have quite a few peppers coming on in the front that I saw this morning. This bed has
squash.
this is butternut squash in the front, and then this is eggplant in the back. And as you can see, the same issue that I had earlier in the year with my tomato plants curling in and looking like they had some pesticide exposure, so are several of these eggplants back in here. So I actually figured out what happened. My husband had sprayed some Roundup on weeds in this garden last year, and obviously it just stayed in the soil that long, because as soon as I planted my eggplants back here, they started curling like that as well. So I don't know if these will do anything or not.
I don't know. I like eggplant.
No, I love eggplant. Anyway, so we'll see what they do. That's why I've planted more back there in my other garden. But the butternut squash is just going to take over in here. And that's what I wanted to happen so that the weeds are all shaded out. Got a couple little tomato plants. That one looks like the pesticide hit it, so it's not doing anything really. This one looks good. We've got some little tomatoes coming in on it.
Yeah, see.
We've got flowers in this area and a lot of weeds that need to be pulled out. We've got a couple of squash plants here. They'll run all through there and kind of shade out all those weeds. These are some zinnias in here and some marigolds. And just the leftover tomato plants that never got planted in here. And these are a lot of my pepper plants here. And this is where I actually have peppers coming on the plants. So these, and I have a banana pepper.
Ooh, banana. Never
in
heard of
here.
that.
It's got a lot of little peppers on it.
What's a banana pepper?
These actually might be Korean hot peppers.
Are banana peppers spicy?
Some of them are and some of them are sweet. We've got more, some of these are butternut squash and some of them are delicata squash. And then some tomato plants. I think the smaller ones are the delicata. They took longer to come up. So these will just take over this whole area, which is what I was aiming for, so that it covers the ground and I don't have a problem with a lot of weeds. These are spaghetti squash.
Spaghetti squash?
Yeah.
Why is it called spaghetti squash?
Because when you shred it up, it looks like spaghetti noodles. But I have a couple of spots that the cats kept digging up, so I will probably replant those.
They're right there.
Got some tomato plants here. These with the big leaves, I believe, are the Cherokee purple tomato plants.
Right there to that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Probably the cats on that as well. Got, I think, a couple of little lemon balm plants. Some dill.
Right there.
I planted a lot of herb seeds through here and really not much of it came up. These are transplants of caraway and sage. So they're doing really well. And then down here, we put our chives in the ground this morning. Some type of little daisy flower here that Elizabeth planted. We've got some oregano, some marjoram, thyme, parsley, a few sage plants, a few caraways, and a couple little rosemary plants that have been really slow to get started but are finally coming through. And I believe I got one little basil plant there. I love fresh basil, and I didn't have very much of that came up this year.
What about Elizabeth sunflower seeds?
I believe that the drought got those down by the gate. So that's the garden tour. We'll keep you posted throughout the summer.